3.03 is the physical characteristics and processes of Central America. 3.04 is the people and culture of Central America. Here are our objectives. If you want to pause and go through those, talking a little bit about the Mayan culture, tectonic plates, different weather aspects that are based upon Central America. Okay, so Central America is a little bit different. I'm going to slide that down here so you see it. So here is a volcano in Costa Rica. Volcanoes are a very big thing, and I'll tell you why Central America has volcanoes and all these different kind of natural disasters that you kind of think about in that area. You also have different animal life, as you can see over here to the right, that you won't find in any other place in the world. And the reason you won't find it in the place in the world is because it's on what we call in our tropics location. Okay, you have the equator that splits the Earth horizontally. And then right above it at 23.5 degrees north and 23.5 degrees south, you have the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. That area is where the sun rotates when it's going around the Earth, and it spins. And that's what keeps it nice and warm all year round. So they don't really have the seasons that we have here in Utah, so you're not going to see snowfall there. When I went to Belize a little while ago, I was speaking with a local, and he said that he has never seen snow before, and he'd love to see snow. And it's amazing to us, right? Because we see snow probably once, or a lot of times throughout the year, and it's no big deal, right? We drive in the snow. They've never seen it. He's never been in temperatures lower than, he said, 49 degrees, which is pretty crazy too. But that lays habit to tropical birds that you can see, also other various animals that are, just as I said, found nowhere else upon the planet. Okay, one of the reasons Central America is so apt to natural disasters is it lays upon what's called the Ring of Fire. Okay, if we look over to the left here, you see where my cursor is. The Ring of Fire, I'm just going to follow that with my cursor, is a place where all the volcanoes, about 95% of all the volcanoes in the entire world are located. And why are they located there? They're located there because they're on what's called the Pacific Plate. We talked earlier in the unit, and you probably learned from your maybe Earth systems science class, that the tectonic plates, they're moving and twisting and that kind of stuff, and they're coming up together. Well, because of that, those plates where they come together, they create a lot of area where the molten lava from up comes up and is on that area. And so as you can see right through here, this is where a lot of volcanoes are, right on that isthmus, as we talked about, which is Central America. And so that has a whole bunch. And when it has that as well, it has mountain ranges that basically create over here. So as you can see, as I'm going through this picture right here, you can see the mountain ranges that are along that area. So those are reasons why they have it. So they have the earthquakes, as you can kind of see right here in this picture, and it causes great destruction of volcanoes. And then also another thing that they're hit by quite a bit is hurricanes, okay? And that is due to you have warm air by the equator, and that mixes with the cold air that's coming down, and it creates these hurricanes that come through, and they usually go through and just completely destroy the Caribbean a lot of times, and you can see like the disasters that it causes. Some of the things that happens is you also have, if you look at this picture, and I'm going to move my recording, my face down here, when areas get blown away, like trees and stuff, then the roots from those vegetation that kept those area is really stable, that you start having mudslides. As you can kind of see, this is a mudslide right here, and all of that has come down and completely covered that area. So they're widely known for those natural disasters. One thing that has happened that we use because of the physical characteristics of Central America is, as I said, we have that isthmus, which is just a small area between two larger bodies of land. So you have North America, you have South America, and then you have Central America that has a little part. So they took the smallest part, the United States did, and they created with Panama what we call the Panama Canal. Now the Panama Canal, it's actually interesting because the oceans are not the same level on each side, so they actually have areas where they go in through, and this is a picture of the Panama Canal here to the left. They drive their boats in here, and then they kind of pump in water, whatever way that they need to do, so they can get all the way across. This saves a huge journey. As you can see right here, if we were to go from New York to San Francisco and took the Panama Canal, it'd be 5,200 miles. If we went from New York to San Francisco and had to go all the way around South America, it would be 13,000 miles. So this was a huge thing that kind of helped them out moving along. So it kind of leads us into a little bit of history here. And so one of things is we have this person called Sir Francis Drake. I think you want to remember that word. It may be important for your exit ticket. But Sir Francis Drake was from England. He was basically a pirate. What he did is he was going through, and Spain had colonized a lot of the areas here in Central America. As they were bringing back, they found the Native Americans, the Mayans mostly, had a whole bunch of gold, and they were taking that gold and putting it on ships and selling it all the way across back to Spain. Well, Sir Francis Drake and his pirates went and intercepted one of these big vessels that had all this treasure on it. And what they did is they captured it, but they knew if they went back that the Spanish would be looking for them. So what he decided to do is he decided to go down to South America, go all the way around South America, come all the way up. He went over across the Pacific Ocean, down towards India, crossed Africa, and came back to the United Kingdom, where he became, or England, where he became an absolute legend over there, as you can imagine, bringing back all that gold. And at that time, excuse me, the Spanish weren't looking for him, right? Because he had already been gone for so long. I believe it took 2 or maybe 3 years, I can't remember, to make this journey. And he made it all the way back to England with his gold. So pretty interesting story. Okay, the next aspect is that we're going to be talking about is the little bit more of the culture. So 3.04, the culture of Central America. So there are over 38 million people that live in Central America. The Mestizos is a mix between the Native American people and European heritage, mostly the Spanish that kind of inhabited that area. So they make up 5/6 of the population of the region. It's diverse in the culture and population influence, but many still practice those same ways of living that they've always lived before. As you can see, this lady right here, traditional dress. She probably sells these blankets to any kind of tourists or anything like that coming in, and you can probably see her living arrangements behind her over there. So they still live a very down-to-earth life, but that's a lot because of the economic issues that we kind of talked about before in last lesson of why they have that. Okay, so that now takes us into a poll question. Let me move my thing up so you can see my picture's not there. What is the ethnicity of most of the people from Central America? Is it A, Spanish, B, Mayan, D, Native American or Native American and Spanish mix, or Portuguese? Okay. I will give you a second to think about that. And the correct answer is Native American or Native American and Spanish mix. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about Mayan life, okay? So Mayan life, it's a lot of the people that live there still believe they kind of live a Mayan life. So they're the direct descendants of the ancient Mayas, still that live in Mesoamerica. As you can kind of see over here, I believe this is one of the oldest temple or pyramids that they have over in that area. They had the land of which include Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. That's where the Mayans were. The ancient Mayans relied heavily on their environment, and they were still worshippers of what they call the gods of rain, sun, and corn. They were hugely into agriculture, so that's how they survived, was growing corn, and they used a method called slash and burn farming, which is actually still used today by a lot of people of that area. And we'll talk more about that as we move on throughout the lessons. So let's have a question here. The Aztecs were conquered by the Spanish within a year, but it took the Spanish over 20 years to conquer the Mayans. Is that true or false? The correct answer is true. It took them a while to overcome that. Okay, as I said before, the Mayans and the people, they rely heavily, and they still do, on things. One of these things is sugar cane, okay, cocoa plants, and then also other plants of that area that grow so well in the tropic area. And so that's how they gain a lot of their agriculture. Okay, let's do another poll question real quick. Why do foreign investors hesitate to invest in Central America? Would it be A, the lack of worthy projects, B, no apparent need, C, government corruption, or D, lack of education? Let's just think about that for a second. And the correct answer is government corruption. Okay, so the problem is with these countries is they don't have a stable government, and unfortunately they have a whole lot of drug lords that are down in that area that are ruling that area and kind of combating back and forth. So those are that. Okay, the next one we have here is what we call the Cuban Missile Crisis that we're going to go over. Remember, Central America does include the islands of the Caribbean, and Cuba is one of those islands. Just to talk real quickly about the Cuban Missile Crisis, what happened is that after World War II, Germany was split into two. The West was taken over by the United States and its allies, and they were a capitalist society, while the East was taken over by the Soviet Union, or the USSR, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. And so what they did there is they actually, the government ran everything, and different countries throughout the entire world were aligning either with the United States and its allies or there. Well, one of those countries is Cuba. Cuba decided to align with the Soviet Union. And so we had what we call the Cold War, where we wouldn't really talk to the Soviet Union. We're kind of going back and forth and kind of flexing our muscles back and forth. Well, the Soviet Union actually started sending missiles to Cuba, and we found out about it, and so we intercepted that and kind of talked about it. And because of that, a lot of things came about, and President John F. Kennedy decided to impose what's called an embargo on Cuba. And so basically that crippled their economy, and they had such a hard time. And so if you actually go to Cuba today, it's starting to open up a little bit more, as we talked about in our live class. We kind of got on this subject. It's like you're going back into the 1950s. As you kind of see at the bottom left over here, they still have like the 1950 style cars that they're driving, and that's because they just haven't progressed at all. They don't have that progression as we did here in the United States. Alright, so let's go over another poll question real quick. In most of Central American countries, what portion of the population is considered poor? Okay, is it A, almost none, B, no, 1/4, C, 1/2, or D, all? And the correct answer is half. Over half of them are considered poor, which means they don't have those basic necessities that they need, like food and shelter. And we talked about before why that's so important, the food and shelter. That's what is the cause for a lot of the immigration, particularly to the United States. You can see here, what people don't understand is that a lot of the immigration is not coming from the people of Mexico. They are coming from the people of Central America, mostly Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. Okay, and they're going and they're fleeing to the countries, and this is where they're kind of going, as you can kind of see this map. And you can see a whole bunch of them are just leaving in a long ways because they need that food, they need the water, they need safety. And if you're not getting those basic necessities, you leave. That pushes you out, that push and pull factors. Okay, we got another long pull question here. I'll read it real quick. After reading the following quote, what can you infer about the role of Central America in immigration to the United States? Central America has been a locus of migration for generations. It is characterized by the rural to urban, which means basically country to city, and regional migration, as well as immigration abroad, particularly to the United States. A relative unknown in hemispheric migration matters until recent decades. Central America transformed from a minor to a major player during the decade of armed conflict in the 1980s. In this period, the region also became a geographic bridge to North America for immigrants from South America seeking to enter the United States, while Mexico has been the main transit country for Americans headed north. In short, Central America is a crossroads of migration streams. Okay, would it be? So we want to pick which is. What can you infer about this? Would it be A, Central America is the source of immigrants? Well, the pathway for immigrants to South America. From South America. Central America is the destination for many immigrants from South America. Central America is caught in a series of armed conflicts which limits the immigration. Or D, Central America does not have a lot of people who migrate to the United States. Think about it. The answer is A, Central America is a source of immigrants as well as a pathway from immigrants from South America. So they come up right through that isthmus and then go into Mexico and find their way to the United States. Alright, so that ends us to there. Please go to the Google folder. You can get this the the exit ticket there and put in the secret word so you can get your extra credit, okay? If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to email, call, or text. You can find that on the announcement page. Thank you, and have an awesome day.